All right, here we go. Michael Jai White, welcome back. First interview of the new year.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Got the Show Enough shirt on.
Yes,
Let's take a
absolutely.
look at it. Let's open up the...
there it is.
Yeah, there we go.
Shogun
there
to Harlem.
We go.
Yes.
Rest in peace. He died not too long ago,
Oh,
right?
yeah, man. Julius Carey, man. What a cool cat.
That was one of the most iconic characters.
Yeah. I go back with him with Dolomite. No, was it? No. Avenging Disco Godfather.
Oh.
He was Bucky.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Where is Bucky and what has he had? Which is one of my favorite, Rudy Ray Moore lines.
Uh-huh.
And I put that in Black Dynamite.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I missed that.
It's kind of very campy the way he delivered stuff. So, I'm a big fan of that. That's why I wrote the movie. I love that genre. So, here it is. Yeah.
Well, we have a lot to talk about today. But right now, the thing that's on everyone's mind, and I have a role in all this, as we'll discuss in a little bit, is the whole Taraji P. Henson thing.
Okay.
Now, did you see the interview that she did?
Yes, I did. I did some damn homework this time.
Okay.
Instead of like walking blindly into shit that you're talking about. So I was like, let me make sure I know what I'm talking about or what he's delivering to me.
Well, she did an interview, around the time that The Color Purple was about to get released. And they asked her if she gets the money that she feels she deserves, and she started to cry. And she actually talked about how she considered quitting acting.
Right.
And that set off a whole discussion about the whole thing. So number one, what'd you think about that interview?
Well, I mean, my heart went out. I mean, I do recognize as an artist, like another one that's, not appreciated, but there's so many of black artists are just not appreciated. And that just goes with the whole industry. Just recently, I saw an interview with Terrence Howard, her counterpart, who's been a co-star of hers for a long time. Is essentially the same story. But I thought I commented at one time on the fact that Terrence had gotten such little money for Hustle and Flow. Yeah, and that just, that's par for the course. That's what happens. Sometimes you're doing these things to increase your visibility and, give you more opportunities going forward.
Yeah, he got $12,000 for starring.
$12,000 for starring in that movie, which is egregious, right?
Yeah.
To some level, but there's things that you weigh out in particular parts of your career that you're going to do that for the sake of the long run, right?
Yeah.
But I understand someone like Taraji, who's been around for a very long time. It's like, man, it sucks when you have to sing for your supper, right? I know this all too well, and I warn a lot of women, a lot of female actors that this industry takes a lot of your blood in a way, and you got to really love it because it's not going to love you in a number of ways. Because it's called show business for a reason, because it's business when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
And now someone like Taraji, I mean, like, she is an amazing performer.
Agreed.
And one of the things about her is that she uses herself as a vessel for us all. And that's where her strength and talent lies. Even though the reality of the situation is that, if that was my sister, she's my little sister, I'm like, we're going to get a team to create avenues for you that befits you. Of course I come from that world, because who was going to write Black Dynamite but me, right? So, but here's another thing though, but you can't put that on them. Like, it's kind of like a thing. Well, I go back and I think about, like, I remember back in 97, I had this conversation with Angela Bassett. And the fact that she was so exalted and so revered, but yet she wasn't getting the roles that she wanted, or the respect that she felt like she deserved, and she was right. And I was really trying to encourage her to get these things produced for herself. Well, okay, cat's out of the bag. Angela Bassett and I used to date. Okay, so I remember at the time her response was, Jamie Lee Curtis doesn't have to do this. So-and-so doesn't have to do this. And I said, yeah, well, it's, there's a different circumstance. And you know how we're treated, and it's going to take a little bit more. Now, that was a weird thing to say. Like, that's something from a male perspective. Like, we're talking about, okay, having to do these things. I mean, of course, it feels unfair for Angela or Taraji or anybody to have to step to lengths that no one else, no other white counterpart has to step to, right? It's really disconcerting. So, but also we gotta be careful as like people like you and myself. I mean, we're guys, right? We forge forward, we kick down the doors, we have to do that, right? That's kind of our work ethic. Can't put that on. I feel like that's a little rough on an actress who is, like I say, man, any actress has to just, what they're giving of themselves is like, they have to lay their heart, their heart has to be on their sleeve. They are, like I say, vessels for us. They have to show undying love that they would normally show to only one person, to the whole world. And every actress, every actress has to play, okay, you lost your child, action. Okay, now your husband has died, action. You know what I mean? And guys, it's like your whole family was slaughtered, right? And cut to the funeral, and you're just keeping a stiff upper lip, right? Women have to just bare their souls and be naked in front of the whole world. So I get it. There's emotions involved in that. And there's, like I say, singing for your supper, that very few people are ever going to understand what that person has had to give of themselves for their art, and then not to be treated or respected in that sense. I mean, that's something that hurts deeply. And if you feel deeper, like women tend to do so, you're going to feel it. And so, you, my brother, like as a guy, we sometimes, we put our guy shit into it, right? Which is like, well,
it's called mansplaining.
Yeah, mansplaining too. So yeah, I think you were a little bit you were guilty of doing that a little bit too much.
Fair enough.
And and it's kind of like, it's tantamount to going, oh, you've been sexually abused. Get over that shit.
No, you're not going to compare these two.
No.
Wait,
Wait to hear the analogy.
Okay, the outset is not.
I know that sounds harsh, but I'm doing that to make a point.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm exaggerating my point. Okay. Of course, it's not the same, but the thing that is similar is that there's somebody who's been traumatized, right? Just like a victim of assault or dare I say, not rape or sexual assault, and to go and to say, well, you too damn rich to be upset about this shit.
Okay.
So
okay.
I'm almost there.
Go ahead.
So it's not a thing about a status. I don't care how rich you are, you still can be hurt.
Yes.
And so that's all I'm saying. And not like you didn't have a point. Nobody can say you didn't have a point as far as what it takes to, remedy this. And, of course, you took the role, your team did all that. Yeah, of course, those things. But it's just kind of like, it's just like you could, some things are best used with a scalpel and not a sledgehammer.
Right.
That's all.
Okay, so let me go ahead and address what I've said.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, I want to start off by saying I'm a huge Taraji P. Henson fan in terms of her acting. Right. I have seen probably every film that she's ever been in, and I can honestly say on record that she's killed every role.
You ain't lying.
She's never had
I don't think anybody can say anything about that.
Yeah, no, she's never slouched.
Yeah.
She's never given a half-assed performance. She's given it her all, and I've thoroughly enjoyed every time I see her on the screen. And if it was up to me, I would feel that she was an A-list leading actress.
Yes.
And if I was making movies, I would put her in that role myself. Unfortunately, I'm just a fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm speaking from the outside. And I also want to apologize for what I said in terms of she has a $12 million net worth and she lives in a $6 million house. And, and I said that, most working people don't want to hear rich people complain that they didn't get an extra few million.
Right, yeah.
This is coming from something I've dealt with myself. No one wants to hear me complain about I didn't get the money I felt I deserved. But that was a cheap shot. Someone close to me pointed that out recently. And I apologize to Taraji for saying that. That was not part of the conversation. I kind of veered off course a little bit with that. So I'm sorry about that.
I know where it went. It's because you're in a debate, right?
I'm in a debate.
So it turned into a sledgehammer.
It turned into a sledgehammer. Yes. And I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. So
but my overall feeling about this is still the same. And that is, as you go through life and you're working for other people with various projects, if you're not getting what you feel you deserve, it's time to start to pivot and move around. And a lot of people have reached out to me and say, oh, listen, I'm a producer, and an actor and a producer is not the same role. One cannot do the other, or a writer, that's a totally different role, and so forth. And I understand that, but you could always hire people and partner with people.
Now that's what I said. That's why I say if I were her big brother,
yes,
I'm like, we're going to create something.
It's a team.
That's going to put you where you need to be.
I can't do VladTV on my own. Yes, I could shoot. Yes, I could edit. Yes, I could write.
Yeah.
But I'm not great at those things. So I hire people and pay them out of my own pocket to create projects that I oversee and I am, quote unquote, the star of, because I'm doing the interview. As well as the person obviously who I'm interviewing, but I'm the interview star of the, of the projects, and I hire people and pay them fairly out of my own pocket because I have confidence in my own ability and my own final projects. And I feel like Taraji, as long as she's been in this business, she has so many people that admire her and love her that she could get the best producers, the best writers, the best cinematographers for, that will work relatively cheaply based on their relationship, because they want to see her win.
Yeah,
that's my point. And I'm talking to someone who has had to go through the same thing.
Absolutely, of course. I mean, firsthand. I mean, I was told by a studio head that I think you're as talented as Tom Cruise. Too bad you're black. I mean, this was actually said to me.
Yeah,
crazy. I understand it firsthand. But like I actually started out technically, I started out directing before I did anything else. I was directing and shooting things when I was 10 and editing before I even realized. So that's part of my whole, wheelhouse. But a lot of people aren't necessarily, and not saying I'm better, but I'm just, a lot of people are not, equipped to do that. And you're right, got to hire folks who can.
Right.
And that's, unfortunately, it's sad as shit. But it takes that for, sisters like, sometimes it takes that for sisters like Taraji and so many to step up to the next level, because it's not going to be written for them.
Right.
I would venture a guess that Taraji hasn't even shown you her best, but if somebody creates it, hello, Academy Award and everything else. So she got the talent.
Right. So you don't even have to. You don't even have to pay people. You could partner with people.
Right. And
find a great director. Okay, boom, we're partners on this. I will be the lead role. You direct it. Yo, let's get the best writer. Make him a partner or her a partner.
And see, I'm an optimist, and I love this kind of shit, because what if this resulted in that?
Right.
Wouldn't that be something?
I would no longer be the bad guy. Oh, look, Taraji made her own film and it was a huge hit.
Yeah, you ain't gonna get
Vlad's poking was the reason why.
Credit. You ain't gonna get,
I'll never get the credit for it. That's okay. That's okay.
That's all right.
I could be the bad guy in these kind of conversations because there's a huge number of people that agree with me. They're not as vocal as the people that disagree. They know I'm being told I should not even be allowed to comment about black women and stuff like that. And that's fine. I'm used to this.
Men. We got big shoulders. We
I can take it. I can take it.
We take it. And then, that's just, that's how we, husbands, fathers, everything else.
Yeah.
It's like, that's part of our job is to, be there behind you, get you where you're going.
Right.
No accolades to us. It's not
okay.
important.
It's okay.
But if what we did resulted in something positive, there it is.
There it is. Well, one of the things that was brought up was that when she did the role for Benjamin Button, where she played a supporting actress there was a $150 million budget, and she asked for $500,000 for this film, and they turned her down, and they would only give her $150,000,
right,
which is 0.1% of the total budget. Now, she did get nominated for an Oscar in that role, which I'm sure brought her to the next level in terms of her roles. After that, she was also starring in that was probably her biggest film, I think, at the time that she's ever been in.
Probably.
And Brad Pitt was a total dominant A-list guy, with other big A-list actors in it and so forth. She ultimately took it, but a lot of people are upset saying that was way too low. Now, from your point of view, you understand how Hollywood works. Is $150,000 for her role, is that considered just egregiously low, or is that like, okay, it's relatively fair?
It is. See, what she did, she showed and proved, right? I mean, if that were someone else, they probably wouldn't have gotten an Oscar nomination. That's, it's not like it's going to be Oscar nominated from the beginning.
True.
She pulled into a performance that seems like, okay, now if it was done by someone else, then maybe, it's about $150,000 role, right? She turned it into a $500,000 performance.
Yeah.
But see, that's one of those things that, it puts you into that next realm. I just personally would choose to think of it in those terms, because of course, hindsight being 2020. Now, you improved upon what the role was written as, right? Because of your talent. You don't get paid, subsequently for that.
Right.
Somebody could have just turned in an average role and we wouldn't be talking about this right now.
Yeah.
Right? So going forward, people should put respect on her name because that's what she did. If they really had some class, they should have cut her a check for about $350,000 after she got nominated.
Right,
personally,
but this is, and I understand what you're saying, but you got to understand that this is coming from a business side, and I understand that most people listening to this are fans. They're just fans. They've never been involved in financing a business. They don't have their own business. But when it comes to business, here's sort of the problem with what you're talking about. Because I've had people approach me, oh, look, this interview did well. You owe me extra or whatever else. But the reality of business is this. When someone works on a project with you, you agree to a fee, you pay them. The project does well, better than expected. A lot of people feel, well, you should have paid me extra after the fact. But I've never heard anyone say, hey, I worked on this project with you and it flopped. Let me give you some of that money back.
True.
No, that's on you.
True, but
it's not my fault. I did my job.
Let's be careful. This is my argument. It's not hers.
Yeah.
She's never asked to be paid after the fact for Benjamin Button.
No, I get it.
All right. No, she was right about, this was very low.
Right. Well, and I remember I read about this. She was trying to negotiate. She was like, she asked for $500. The producers ultimately said, this is our budget. Take it or leave it.
Yeah,
she took it.
That's absolutely normal. That's what happens all the time. That's a Terrence Howard situation with Hustle and Flow. This is what we got.
Yeah.
And then he made something of it, and then, he's
upset after the fact.
Yeah. So what it is, like I said, that would be classy for them to go, you know what? You were right.
Right.
You turned this in this performance, boom, here you go. Here's a bonus. You put us on, you turned in a performance that's an Oscar-worthy performance.
Yeah.
And you did that for us, and you did that for this little money. That would have been cool. Yeah. That would have been some class. But again, that's my argument. That's not Taraji's argument. So, as far as that is concerned, you look at The Color Purple right now. well, let's not make the money that was hoped for.
Well, I actually
and
have
so
the numbers.
that would have been the situation.
Yeah.
That would have been a situation where you're talking about was saying, oh, okay, give back the money. That like, would you give back the money? Which is still ridiculous, but that's not the argument.
Well, is it ridiculous? Why is giving back the money ridiculous, but paying someone extra not ridiculous?
No, I get.
It's ridiculous both ways.
But the thing is, remember, she's not asking to be paid.
No, I understand that. No, we're just saying we're bringing up hypothetical situations.
I'm bringing up a hypothetical
Yes.
for afterwards, right? Let's be clear that this is not her argument afterwards. Now, if there was, then there would be license to say, okay, if you want us to pay you afterwards, well, pay us back afterwards if it flops.
Right, because in The Color Purple, it's $100 million budget,
right?
And so far, it's made $60 million at the box office.
Right. But that's
for all intents
nobody's
and purposes. For what it's looking like, this is probably going to be a money-losing project.
It will be,
right?
It will be, yeah. But that again, that's not the argument.
Yeah,
that's not that would be an argument if it was talking about getting paid subsequently.
Well, here's what I don't understand. Also, this is my argument. Also, when it comes to these types of negotiations, why not just say, screw the upfront money, give me a percentage. The movie does great, we all benefit. If it flops, okay, I've done it for nothing.
Yeah, it's
okay. Life goes on, and a lot of, and you're not going to tell me because I remember Jason Weaver, the actor, who did the singing for The Lion King.
Yeah,
the Simba, the young Simba. He did all the singing.
Yeah,
and he got offered $2 million by Disney to do the role, and his mom said, "Hold on.
Yeah,
if they're offering this much, we're gonna forego this money and do a percentage instead." Disney didn't want to do it; they've never done it before, but the role was so key, and he did such a perfect job that they agreed to it. And over time, he made way more money. You go from 80,000, which is cool, but it's not. You're not buying a Ferrari with 80,000.
Hell no.
To being offered $2 million up front, and your mom was smart enough to turn that down.
Absolutely. Shout out to my mother. No, I mean,
you gave up $1.9 million
at that time.
At that time,
yeah.
Wow.
Because it was, in her opinion, she's absolutely right. Because honestly, that income, that residual income that I generate, man, that shit is so helpful.
Okay, so
like even nowadays, like, man, when I get in a check from the Lion King, I'm like, fuck, yes.
Did you make more than $1.9 million over time?
Over time, yes.
Okay, so that was actually the smart move.
Yeah.
I don't think that applies in this situation only because that's a lead, that's a Disney, it's a franchise, it's a whole different thing. See, the thing that you got to really look at is with Benjamin Button, right? Mm-hmm. That could have flopped.
Yeah,
that could have absolutely flopped. She doesn't know what performance that Brad Pitt's going to pull in and whatever. It could have been a flop, right? So then we wouldn't be talking about that.
But why not? But why not take that chance? Like, what I'm saying, like
yeah. But it's
this is what I'm saying. Like, if you want the guaranteed money, you're going to have to hold it and accept that if it blows up. You're guaranteed. Every person when I interview people, a lot of people get appearance fees. Some of those interviews lose money. I hold that. I never complain. I never hit them up and be like, "Hey man, listen, can you give some of that?" No, you hold that. Now if we're partners in it, everyone has a role in it. And most actors, depending on who they are, especially if they're notable actors, can usually negotiate a percentage.
If not if they're fifth leads.
Not if they're not leads?
If they're fifth leads.
Fifth lead. What is a fifth lead?
There's Brad Pitt. Who are the marquee people in I don't know. I don't remember. But as there's several supporting characters.
Right, here we go. Brad Pitt, Cate Blanchett.
Mm-hmm.
Mahershala Ali. Oh, I forgot he was in it.
Me too.
Yeah. Go figure. Mahershala Ali's in it. Taraji P. Henson.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few other people I'm not familiar with.
Okay, so third lead.
Fourth lead.
Fourth lead. Yeah. So it's kind of like when you are fourth lead, you're not really in a position to make those kind of deals. You know,
Because what? They feel you're replaceable in a way?
well, I'm telling you, bro, it's like the way they do these type of things. It's like, well, you know, here's an offer. It expires on Tuesday.
Take it or leave it.
So that's really how that happens. You know, and you want to ask for more money. This is all the money we got. Take it or leave it. And now, if they're going to say this is all the money we got, take it or leave it, you're not going to talk about, oh, well, give me some percentage on the. You know, they're like, come on, you're not. If it's a take it or leave it situation, you're kind of at the end of your rope to some degree. And then, and let me tell you, traditionally, money on the back end. Okay, I'll take money on the back end, and you don't know if it's going to be a flop or not. And even if it's successful, a lot of time you never see that money on the back end. Believe me.
No, that's true. I mean,
There's
we were talking
accounting.
about this. My first documentary, I never saw a back end check.
Yeah, so just what I'm saying.
but-
We're
but
going
then
down
again,
the
I didn't-
wormhole here, but it's just,
Yeah.
but really, it usually is like the other 50 movies that she may have done or whatever. It's an offer, and here it is. And I think recognizing the possibility of, you know, I think she probably, I'm speculating, I think she probably knew she was going to kill this. She probably knew
which
she
she
was
did.
going to kill, and she did.
And she did.
Which should result in her not having to sing for her supper in the future.
Well, one of the things she mentioned was that she's always told that her celebrity doesn't translate overseas.
Yeah.
Now,
You know,
this is
just-
something. Well, you're kind of the opposite because your celebrity does translate overseas based on the type of movies that you do, right?
This is something that, of course, man. You know, when a man is telling me you could be Tom Cruise, but too bad you're black, and they have this belief that, you know, you unfortunately don't sell overseas. Bullshit. Action always sold overseas.
True.
The only reason why we know Jackie Chan and Jet Li and, you know, Jean-Claude Van Damme is because they're from another country, but they do action.
Exactly.
The point is this. As a dramatic actor, as a comedic actor, China got their own dramatic and leading actors.
So no
Russia
one really
does.
translates overseas
But-
unless they're doing action.
That's right, because they
got
say
it.
black movies don't translate overseas. White movies don't translate overseas.
Action is the only thing that translates.
It does. Yeah. Action does. See, that's the bullshit that they don't tell you. Because of course
okay, yeah. Now again, you're right. Because
Be-
Marvel movies, Tom Cruise. I mean, Tom Cruise is an action star.
is an action star.
Yes.
I mean, you know how many movies I had to try to put together as a producer, and I'll throw out all these household names of white actors from the States, and be shocked that they go, that person has no value overseas. I'm like, what? That person's like a household name, and they don't know him. I'm like, oh shit. That, as a producer, that was a big lesson to me, right? And that's why I did these movies in Romania and all these different places, you know, because it makes you overseas marketable.
Right.
So when they say black people don't sell overseas, it's no different than white people don't sell overseas.
Yeah, it's a type
because
of movie.
A white comedian, unless it's a blockbuster, a white comedian, a dramatic actor or whatever, what the hell they need with our white comedians or dramatic actors when they got their own in other countries that speak their damn language?
Right.
But they only need our action stuff because we blow up shit in this country. We do that. We do budgets that they don't have.
Yeah.
So that's why our action content, some of our horror content, even though Korea kills it right now, and Korea is like some of the best action too. But it's our action and our LGBTQ content that sells overseas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The gay content does well overseas?
Yeah, especially in parts of India, which is, India is you think about it, India is the biggest English-speaking country in the world.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Far bigger than this country. So
yeah.
That's a huge market. So it's like you gotta see these things worldwide. And so getting back to like that would be the move to me, is that you get these people who are not honored for what they bring and their talent, and you pull it together, and because the fan base is out there. It's just got to be crafted in such a way that it's global.
Well, she made some comments about The Color Purple when she was working on that. She said they gave us rental cars, and I was like, I can't drive myself to set in Atlanta. This is an insurance liability. It's dangerous. Now they're robbing people. What do I look like? Taking myself to work by myself in a rental car? So I was like, I get a driver, security to take me. I'm not asking for the moon. They're like, well, if we do it for you, we got to do it for everybody. Well, do it for everybody. It's stuff like that I shouldn't have to fight for.
Right.
And she said, I haven't had a raise since Proud Mary from 2018. I still didn't get a raise. They don't care. They're always looking for a deal and trying to pay you the least amount of money. I remember on Empire, I was fighting over trailers. Now keep in mind, I just want to say this before you go on. Proud Mary was one of the few movies that she did star in. Had a $30 million budget. It made $22 million at the box office. Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, the movie that she did star in wasn't a big success. So, when it comes to Hollywood and they look at past performance, the same thing with me. When I have my repeat guests, and I have a lot of them, I look at what they did last time. And I base, in the future, whether I want to bring them back on, how much I'm going to pay them, everything else like that. It's all a business at the end of the day. Like, yes, there's art, and you're trying to create incredible products. I do too, but there's a business aspect. There's lots of people who I love to interview, but I know their interviews flop, so I can't keep bringing them back on. It's just life. I'm the one that's having to pay for it. And when you do a Proud Mary and it doesn't blow up, now if Proud Mary becomes massive, then it would have been a different conversation moving forward. But unfortunately, it didn't. And, this is the thing. And once again, The Color Purple, $100 million budget, $60 million at the box office. It's probably going to lose money. And the people who are involved in that, that's part of their resume at that point. So when it comes time to book them for other projects, people are going to be looking at these numbers and saying, it's not entirely their fault, but this is part of it. It's show business. And people don't want to hear this because people love Taraji. I love Taraji, but people don't want to hear the pluses and minuses and the actual, the actual numbers in these projects. And which is why I've always said, screw these production companies, screw these big studios, create your own project like you did with The Outlaw Johnny Black. And when it starts to actually come together, there's going to be bidding wars on who is going to buy this. You think if Taraji made a kick-ass project with her own production company, you don't think Netflix would be dying to buy it? Or Apple TV or Amazon or Paramount Plus?
I'm going to tell you to put down that sledgehammer. Put down that sledgehammer. Okay, you're starting to get up there again. Okay. Yeah, yeah. There's points taken, but of course, it's kind of can't blame the victim. But I feel like, again, as somebody who's very protective and wanting the best, yeah, it's disconcerting. But yeah, I think it might take some other avenues to get to where she really wants to be, and where she deserves to be.
Right.
I mean, honestly, like Tyler was one of the first people that really paid people.
I heard she got the most from Tyler.
Oh yeah.
Tyler Perry.
But in that same ethic, I mean, Tyler respected her for who she is and what she brings.
Right.
And Tyler's done that for a number of people. And you know, but as far as that team building and her new team, I would love her team to consist of some great writers who have not had their due, some great directors who have not had their due, who are hungry and want to put out some amazing content because, you know, she may have starred in Proud Mary, which was probably written well. I don't know. I don't know what the situation was. It might have been more than likely, it might have been a script that existed, and then it's like insert Taraji.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's something that is organically her, that's kick-ass, that's created for her, that she has a part in, a part in developing, I can't see it stopping. I can't see it not being what Proud Mary probably should have been or something like that. That's me speculating. I don't know if that was designed for her in particular, but I think if she had a team that really a creative team that could put together and produce things, I think she'd be happy with the result, So that's just my guess.
Well, so I looked this up while you were talking. The film you're talking about that Tyler Perry put together with her starring was Acrimony.
Yeah.
Okay. And she talked about how she got $500,000 for that role. That film had a $20 million budget and made $46.4 million at the box office.
Yeah.
So there you go. Profitable film.
Mm-hmm.
Working outside of traditional Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Perry is not mainstream Hollywood. He's built his own niche, built his own studio, hired people that he likes, and they put together a successful project. Why not say, fuck Paramount, fuck Sony, I'm just going to work with Tyler moving forward. He likes me. We made a profitable project. I'm going to get with Tyler and people who are like him. Yes, they may not be the $160 million budget of Benjamin Button. It's only a $20 million budget, but it's a profitable project. See, I think a lot of times people want the fame more so than the money, right? In Hollywood and entertainment, there's always a balancing act with it. The thing about entertainment is that, yes, if you do these huge projects with these $100 million budgets and hundreds of people involved, you will be famous when it's all done. But so many people have to get paid and there's so many hands in the pot that you won't get a ton of money for these projects. If you do smaller projects where you're the primary owner and there's only a couple of people, like for example, Lunel. I had Lunel on the show. And she said, listen, I'm not complaining about pay in Hollywood. And I asked her, what was the most she ever made on a film? She's like, oh, that's easy. Borat. Made over $1 million. There's only 5 people in the film.
Mm-hmm.
And it was essentially independent film by Sacha Baron Cohen. 5 people. She walks away with $1 million. All the films you've done, what was the most you've ever gotten for a
Borat,
film?
no doubt. Straight
Borat.
up. No, not without question. Still to this day.
Can you say how much or no?
Oh, definitely over $1 million.
You got over $1 million for Borat.
Yeah, because the first check I ever got for Borat was $167,000 some odd dollars. The first one.
And it just kept coming.
And the movie's 15 years old.
Aha.
And I still get residuals in the 4 figures.
And you're not even the star of that movie.
No, but there was only 5 people to pay.
I got you. More so than Taraji. And I think most people would say, and this is no shot at Lunel, I love you, Lunel. Most people say Taraji's a better actress than Lunel. Lunel's more just more so a stand-up comedian who also acts. But she made more money than Taraji because she's like, okay, I'm going to do an independent project, only a couple people in it, and there you go. But you're not getting the accolades of a Benjamin Button, and it's not being nominated for Oscars and everything else like that. So you have to sometimes balance it, and sometimes it's not one way or the other. Okay, I'm going to do some of this over here, not a lot of money, a lot of publicity, but I'll do this to make my real money.
Yeah, see, but the thing is, Taraji could produce a Benjamin Button. She doesn't have to be relegated to even smaller budgets, personally, because she can go out and get Meryl Streep and get De Niro.
I agree.
Because of her
resume.
Yeah, just her talent.
Yes.
But so it's not that's the thing. It's like I don't even want to look at it as something that can do it cheaply and whatever. she could do $100 million budget. She can produce something in that way. The sky's the limit. I just, there is, unfortunately, there's the feeling that, oh, why must it take this to be treated fairly? But it is the world we live in. Yeah. But if you really look on a certain side of it, and it's my perspective, that she has a lot more power than I feel that
she's
she
utilized.
Be aware of.
I agree, and that was my whole point. My first argument was, fuck these companies. If you feel like you're not being compensated, you could do it on your own. Like, a lot of people compare her. Oh, look, Reese Witherspoon's worth $1 billion, but Reese Witherspoon has a production company that puts together a lot of the projects that she's in.
Mm-hmm.
She took it into her own hands. Brad Pitt. Oh, Brad Pitt has a production company that puts together stuff that he's passionate about, that he's putting his own money and resources in, and he'll get more in the back end because he probably is not charging for the acting in these projects because they're his projects. I mean, you personally, what was the most you ever got as a role in a movie that you weren't involved in terms of the production?
Shoot, I don't even think about it.
Batman?
I don't remember, man.
Spawn?
I no, definitely not Spawn. That was one of those situations where I was a new kid on the block.
Right.
So I didn't.
But that set off a career for you that may not have gone the way where you are now had you not been a lead in a relatively high budget film. It wasn't a super high budget film, but it was
super high for that time.
For that time, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Special effects was what they were at the time, but they pushed it as far as they could.
Mm-hmm.
And you're the lead in a superhero film.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, you know how many interviews I do for free? You know what I'm saying? Even though, like, I get paid to do interviews on other platforms sometimes, but if the Breakfast Club calls me, I'm like, yeah, of course I'm not going to charge the Breakfast Club. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not going to charge Drink Champs. Like, these are all platforms that I respect, and I understand by being on these platforms, it'll benefit me. You do shit for free sometimes. You do shit for cheap sometimes because there's a bigger picture involved. Hence the Spawn situation.
Mm-hmm.
You did it for cheap.
Yeah,
but I'm sure Batman, you didn't do it for cheap.
No, but that all relative. Yeah, that's early part of my career. You're going to have to do those things. I think we all have done that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, as far as the applicable nature to that, to where Sister Taraji is, it's still I feel like I think we've got to the point where it's like, well, we see both sides.
Yeah.
I hope it results in a positive direction, and I hope some producer picks things up instead of, because man, what really breaks my heart is that some people in the media, they just want to. I think not only people in the media, but people want an excuse to do what's in their heart anyway. And if anybody wants to paint her to be somebody who's difficult or whatever, I would hate for them to use this as a remedy to blackball her or do anything like that. Oh, she's difficult. That old bullshit. I would love for this to result in people respecting her and producers knowing that she's bankable, and a creative team to create something that gives her Oscar, because it's right there. All that is, you got that amount of talent, and I would hate for her to ever think about quitting, because there's so many people who are looking up to her and rooting for her.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important that she, overcome this, and just, I just want her to like kick ass at this point. Take this low, if it's a low, if she sees it as a low, and begin this hell of an arc to like where she wants to be.
I mean, I don't think that Taraji's at a low. I think that she's still being booked. She's still
but I'm saying
very desirable by moviegoers.
I may be saying spiritually, we're talking about quitting is a low.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody that damn talented talking about quitting. I hope that doesn't happen. It's because there's a lot of people that inspire to be like her. So, I don't want to put that extra stuff on her, but I mean, I personally, that would be a tragedy.
Well, The Outlaw Johnny Black, that was a film that you put together yourself. You wrote it, directed it, produced it. Without going into specifics, the money you made off Outlaw Johnny Black, was that more than any of the checks you got for acting?
Oh yeah, it's going to continue. It's long run money. It's it's mailbox money. I tend to have created movies that keep being played over and over.
Yeah.
And so my deal is not necessarily a whole bunch, a bunch of money up front, certain amount, of course, but it's like, I know the type of movies I do. People find them, as opposed to having a lot of money dealing with a studio that's going to barrage and put millions and millions of dollars on commercials that you're just going to fast forward. That things like Black Dynamite become cult, and people play them over and over and over. And Outlaw Johnny Black is that same kind of a thing, to where people keep discovering it. And when you have that long run, it's more profitable than, hitting hard in the beginning and having to owe a lot of companies for, a lot of marketing dollars and everything else, which gets a little, tricky.
Right.
So my thing is, it's in the long run type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I was going to say is, a lot of times the marketing of a movie is as big as the budget.
Usually.
So if you're talking about a $10 million budget, sometimes they have to spend $10 million to market it.
Right.
So it's really $20 million.
Yeah, and sometimes they spend that type of money to market it because they have to compete with everything else.
Exactly.
And so they got to force feed that thing down your throat.
Yeah.
Commercials, everything else, and sippy cups and all that kind of stuff, which costs a lot. And you got to make that money back before you see anything.
Right.
So, if they put $20 million into the marketing, that's $20 million that has to come back to them before you get a dime.
Correct. Which is
Yeah.
how regular business works.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And not only that if that $20 million in marketing, and then you got the money that was used to make the movie, that has to come back, and the marketing money has to come back.
Right.
Then you get your dime.
Exactly. So if you don't have a blockbuster on your hands, you probably won't get anything, which is what I dealt with myself.
This is the truth.
When
and
I did
so
my
you
first
have a slow
documentary.
burn that didn't cost much in marketing, but people find it and they watch it and watch it and watch it. Like I tell you, like Blood and Bone, that movie is constantly watched.
Was that? Did you put that movie together yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. So you produced that.
Yeah.
Aha.
Yeah.
And that's a cult classic.
Yeah. So that, the proceeds are long and they,
Did you try to get that movie done with a big studio?
No.
Okay, so you just said, okay,
Mm-mm.
I'm totally going.
Big studios were ignorant. Big studios were like, we're not going to put this money in a black guy that doesn't sell overseas. Fuck y'all. Then look at it. You know what I mean? So that's what the deal was, because it's an action movie. But again, what I just said a little while ago, people are going to use whatever excuse to act on what's in their heart. I might not be the type that makes an executive feel very, secure or whatever. That's on them. In the room, maybe they're intimidated, or who knows. But there's a lot of things that go into kind of putting us into the margins, and so they're gonna, if they want to do that, they're gonna search for whatever that reason is, and usually that reason is, they don't sell overseas, and that's what it is. Oh, they don't sell overseas. Interesting. because I've argued for years that, wait a minute, what black action movie doesn't sell overseas? Crickets, because I did my research. All black action movies make money overseas. Wesley Snipes was making more money than Denzel, quietly, and people did not realize that. In Wesley Snipes' day, he was making far more money than Denzel.
Like Blade and movies like that. Of course.
Oh, I mean, not even Blade. I'm talking about Passenger 57, Art of War. All these things, all these movies that sold around the world, he was making a killing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Too bad he didn't pay his taxes.
See, people always want to do what's in their heart. They want to say some fucked up shit.
All I'm saying is, listen, I'm being facetious. All I'm saying
I'm messing with you.
I'm being facetious. All I'm saying is that he was on an incredible trajectory.
True, yeah.
And having to do all that jail time, ultimately where he is now, I feel like he could have been a megastar by now if it wasn't for that jail stint.
Yeah,
because he was like doing all big budget A-list movies. Yeah,
I'm not trying to turn it into like.
I love Wesley. Yeah, I love Wesley. It's not a shout at you, Wesley.
Yeah, well, why we got to go there? We ain't got to go there.
All I'm saying is, hey, man, listen, things could get you off track. You could be.
The point being, action movies sell overseas.
Yes, exactly.
Ta-da.
We'll leave it at that.
Okay,
we'll leave it at that. Well, the other big thing that's happened since our last interview was Katt Williams basically went scorched earth and dissed everyone in Hollywood, essentially. You saw the interview with Shannon Sharpe?
No, I didn't.
You heard about it, though.
I've been hearing stuff about
yeah. Well, he went off on a bunch of people. One of the people he hit up was Kevin Hart. And the two of them have kind of been going back and forth for years now. And he said that Kevin Hart is an industry plant. He said that when he came up, he already had movie roles in place. No one saw him do the circuit and the stand-up clubs and stuff like that. And this is a very interesting term. I remember T.K. Kirkland was here the other day, and we both agree there's no such thing as an industry plant. Do you know what that even means?
I don't know what that means.
Okay, an industry plant, almost like an Illuminati kind of term, meaning that someone high up takes someone who's relatively unknown and puts them in these high positions. Because maybe they did some
thing.
They were performed in some Illuminati ritual, or they somehow sexually compromised themselves in order to do that. They gave sexual favors.
That shit drives me crazy.
Sometimes they'll gay favors to someone in exchange for being put in these positions that they do not actually deserve.
I just feel like people want to believe that shit. They just want to believe any kind of, what do you have to do for that role? Because it existed somewhere, and people just, they go crazy. You know how many times I hear, they to make it, you got to put on a dress. I'm like, what the fuck? Really?
Well, he talked about that as well. He said that Martin Lawrence called him up and said, hey, I want to do this buddy film with you. He's like, okay, that sounds great. So he went to this meeting, and the whole meeting was about Big Mama's House 2, where both of them would have to wear dresses. And Katt Williams walked out because he's not going to wear a dress.
Okay. How is it not connected that comedy is where somebody might wear a dress? In comedies.
Mm-hmm.
So we should be talking about, it should be framed as comedians are encouraged to wear a dress because people think that shit's funny.
Yeah.
And it is funny in certain cases.
Yes.
But it's comedy.
Mm-hmm.
The fuck? You think somebody's asking Terrence Howard to wear a dress? Denzel? Like, come on now. It's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Or you think somebody's asking me to wear? No. Like, and if you want to list the majority, what the fuck? If so, it's okay. Here's one thing. If you gotta wear a dress or to make it, right? Where the fuck are the performances where somebody wore a dress? Do they keep them secret, Well, the ones where I guess whoever, like Denzel says no to it, and therefore who then did the role? We would see that. Or if I was asked to wear a dress, somebody then is in a movie that somebody who said yes. Where is that? Where people act like there's dramas where they want to emasculate black men, and then you got this person wore a dress for this drama. That shit doesn't exist. So it's just ridiculous because I mean people just want to believe that shit. It's just stupid because the proof would be out there because there will be some dress wearing performance that is outside of comedy. Now, there's no comparison to where white people in comedy, white men in comedy wearing dresses. You almost can that. I haven't researched this, but I bet you it's fucking 80%.
80% of white comedians wore dresses?
I would think so, because there's no stigma. There's no stigma to a white comedian wearing a dress at all. It's only a stigma to black comedians wearing a dress.
Right. And like, for example, I think Dave Chappelle, he did an interview on Oprah. Mm-hmm. Here we go. Yeah, I remember this. So when doing Blue Streak with Martin Lawrence.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I remember that. Because they wanted...
They wanted. I remember I saw the interview recently. So basically, in the midst of filming Blue Streak, he goes into his dressing room and there's a dress.
Right,
And the director comes in and goes, "Hey, listen, I had this great idea. Martin Lawrence is going to break out of prison. You're going to pretend to be the prostitute. So you're going to wear this dress and whatever." And he was like, "No, I'm not wearing a dress."
Yeah, right.
But with the internet being the internet, they actually found this old skit with Howard Stern where Dave Chappelle is wearing a dress.
Oh, is that right?
You want to see it?
No.
Okay. He's wearing, he's got fake boobs. He's wearing lipstick.
Huh.
He's got big earrings.
Oh,
shit. He's playing a woman.
Yeah,
this was very early on, and it was just a random little skit with Howard Stern.
Yeah, but
he wore a dress.
So fucking
well, that's my point. So a lot of times people take this high and mighty role, and I think that a lot of these conversations are based off that interview.
Dave Chappelle earlier on is not the Dave Chappelle later on. I mean,
true.
And but so if he says, "Okay, Blue Streak, I don't want to wear a dress," guess what? If he had worn a dress in Blue Streak, it'd probably been funny. He probably looked funny in it. But, I mean, Martin Lawrence is, so
Martin Lawrence did a whole movie wearing a dress.
Exactly. So it's like this emasculation because a black man in a fucking comedy. Yeah. Come on, let's kind of get. That's fucking stupid. There's a lot of black men in comedies that wore a dress. I even defend Tyler. Tyler Perry wore a fucking dress and said some of the deepest shit in that character. I'm sorry, he was very impacting in that character. Yeah, you want to say, oh yeah, so it's cross-dressing, whatever, but he did so, I think, in a brilliant manner.
Yeah,
because what came out of Medea's mouth at times was some deep shit, and you forget that that's a dude. That's good acting. So in comedies, come on, that's relegated to comedies. When it's not relegated to comedies, please show me that shit. Because then maybe when somebody's trying to get Idris to wear a dress to play a badass character or what, then I'm going to listen.
Okay, so The Outlaw Johnny Black and Black Dynamite were both comedies in a way.
Yeah.
Yes, they had other, aspects, but overall, they're more or less comedies, I would say.
Yeah.
Agree?
Yeah.
If
the
script
called
for it.
I fucking wrote the script,
What
man.
I'm saying, could you have envisioned part of the script where you would wear a dress?
That's not me. No, not me. No.
But it's a comedy.
I don't think the shit's funny.
Okay.
Personally,
you would dress would be pretty funny, though.
I'm not gonna. Yeah. People would laugh at it, but that's not me.
It would be hilarious.
In the same way, where Dave Chappelle has gotten to a point in his career where he's like, no, I don't want to do that, because I think that Dave is one of the most brilliant people out there, and I think he got to a point where it was like, oh, there is a point where people are laughing at you or laughing with you, and I think he knew the difference.
Yeah.
That's why when Dave, resurfaced, Dave is buff now.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you ain't laughing at me, motherfucker.
Yeah, you laughing
You
with
know
me.
what I mean?
or
Yeah,
else.
like, yeah. It's like, he's standing in his masculinity and his
gotcha.
alphaness.
I would not.
So,
If I got booked to do a movie where I had to wear a dress, I would say no.
mm-hmm.
Or, for example, if I got offered a bunch of money
There's
to do
no stigma for a white man wearing a dress.
Right, but it's also like who I am that's just not me.
Yeah,
Just in the same fashion where if I was offered to do a celebrity boxing match, I would say no. I wouldn't care how much the money was.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not me. It's not who I am. I'm not going to go in there and what I feel is embarrass myself for a few dollars. I'm cool.
Right.
But, you're right. Yeah, people stand on it. And even Marlon Wayans, he kind of defended male actors wearing dresses.
Yeah, it's comedy.
Yeah.
It's comedy. Like, what the fuck? Is somebody going to try to tell you Marlon is less of a man because get the fuck out of here. That's just stupid. That's just insecure people that want to just chop somebody the fuck down. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and then people want to believe that shit. They want to believe there's some Illuminati shit or somebody had to sell their soul because they got money that they didn't fucking have.
True.
So it's just whatever. It's like nowadays, the internet and all that kind of shit. It's like you can have 100 people talking about something significant and one dumbass who will just derail the whole subject and take it like somewhere the hell else.
Yep.
And the stupid people, they love to hear themselves. They would love to say, the dumbest shit on the planet, and then everybody else got to go to dumb land.
Well, since our last interview, Jonathan Majors was found guilty.
Mm.
And he got dropped by Marvel faster than Diddy paid Cassie.
Mm. Yeah.
Now, it was, what he got convicted of is very minor.
Right.
These are like misdemeanors, not that serious. There's actually a video of him running away from the girl and her chasing him for like blocks.
Mm.
But now he's sort of, looked at a certain type of way. And being dropped by Marvel was major because he's a central character in the Marvel universe. Kang the Conqueror, not only was he the main villain in the Ant-Man movie that just passed, but he was also the main villain in the Loki series on Disney+. So getting dropped for that is huge. Over what I feel is not, when it all came out, it didn't seem like he really did that much. It sounded like a regular argument between someone and their girlfriend that just got out of hand a little bit. I mean, what's your take on that?
I think it's the times, man. People really want to cancel folks, and people can't wait to be outraged. So it's crazy to me. It's just on some King Kong shit to me. I mean, it's like, when I heard about it, I started drawing parallels between the original King Kong and then what's happening with Jonathan Majors. They build up this attraction, and when King Kong goes for Fay Ray, they shoot him down. So it's kind of a thing where, I mean, it's kind of a terrible storm.
Yeah.
I don't know if the punishment fits the crime, but I did not delve deep into it. I'm seeing it from a periphery.
Well, I could tell you, he was found guilty of one count of reckless assault in the 3rd degree, which is the lowest possible degree, and a charge of harassment as a violation.
And then again, the theme of today's show is people want to do what they have in their heart. They just want an excuse to do what they fucking want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they wanted to cancel this brother and found an excuse. And if you provide them with that excuse,
well, I don't think that
they can't wait
Disney
to do that.
wants to recast one of their main characters. I don't think Disney wants to do that. And if you think about the whole situation, the reason why he didn't just take a plea deal, because these are very minor charges. He's going to be sentenced February 6th, I believe.
Well, if they wanted not to, oust him, they wouldn't have done it. They had the choice.
I see where you're going with this, because, for example, Robert Downey Jr. had horrible drug problems. At one point, he wandered in some stranger's house and fell asleep in their kid's bed. You know what I'm saying? So, and now, he became the biggest Marvel star ever as Iron Man. But a certain amount of time has passed. Someone you've done movies with, Mel Gibson was a superstar, and then he went through what he went through, and now he still gets roles, but they're nowhere near the roles that he used to get. Now you could also argue what you have is that he's older, and by the time this part of your career, you're not an A-list actor anymore most times. But yeah, I mean, you could juggle it. It's hard to say. But he got dropped. He was supposed to play Dennis Rodman in an upcoming film. They dropped him for that.
Yeah, King Kong ran away and ran up on top of a building.
Empire State Building.
And they shot him down.
So that's what you think this is?
Well, yeah, it's who doesn't think that there's a side to not penalize this guy for what has occurred. I again, like, yeah, there's some things that I kind of feel like he's not. I mean, he's brought some things on himself, of course. I think I would hope he could see that. There's he didn't do himself any service by the comments, the Michelle Obama and
Coretta
Scott King, and he might as well have said King Kong ain't got nothing to do, nothing on me,
He got shit on me.
In a way, King Kong ain't got shit on me. But which is a hell of a analogy. But it's that didn't help him. But yeah, man, it does appear to me that there was another route to pick up and move on with his career.
Yeah, and listen, we don't know. A year or two from now, he could be an A-list star once again, and people kind of get over stuff, and who knows?
Yeah, and the fear
hard to say.
Yeah, the fear, I believe, that's different, that changes it from a Robert Downey Jr. and Mel, is that this day and age, they're into crucifixion big time. And maybe it's just a sign of the times, and Robert Downey is lucky that
it happened way back when. Yeah,
it's not going on right now.
True.
Yeah. So, yeah, because I mean, I'd have to see what characters, what white actors have been able to withstand the slings and arrows of today. Because Kevin Spacey sure enough didn't.
Yeah, you're right. His career seems to be over right now.
Right.
And he was actually found not guilty in all his trials.
There you go. Now if Kevin Spacey were black, let's look at it like that.
But he's white and he's gay.
Yeah, would we? Yeah, so if he's black and he's gay, would we be looking for a culprit that racial culprit in it?
We also don't know.
To think about it. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing though. With Kevin Spacey though, we don't really know what's happening, because I feel he can come out with a huge role right now and it can still work. Yeah, I think.
But the fear is hiring him.
Yeah.
So
people are scared to touch him right now. Yes, you're right. So it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. Yeah.
Exactly, because so are you going to be the guy that hires Jonathan Majors and invest your millions and be, have your project be crucified because it's a sign of the times.
Remember when Travis Scott had that concert and a few people died?
I don't know who that is.
Okay. So Travis Scott, who was one of the biggest rappers in the world.
Really?
Yes.
I'm old.
You're old. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'll bring you up to speed. Travis Scott is huge. He's got 2 kids with Kylie Jenner. If that connects things for you. Okay.
No,
anyways,
it doesn't. I don't know who Kylie
doesn't
Jenner
matter.
is.
Kylie Jenner, Kim Kardashian's sister.
Oh, okay.
You heard of Kim Kardashian,
Jenner.
right? She did sex tape
I know.
a while back.
Yeah, I know who
that girl. Anyways, so Travis Scott had it was a festival that he put on. Huge concert, tens of thousands of people. At one point while he was performing, people started getting crushed and a few people died in the process. Huge outrage over this because he just kept performing. They were trying to get him to stop performing, but they couldn't really get to him because he was like in a zone and whatever else. A bunch of people died. He's being sued by the families, whatever else. His album that was supposed to have come out got delayed. He had like a Nike sneaker that was supposed to come out. He's got these huge, like, popular Nike sneakers that was put on hold. A certain amount of time passed. Album came out, went number 1. Sneakers come out, everyone's buying them. No one's even talking about this whole situation anymore, except for the families, of course, and a few people who hate him. But in general, time passes, people forget, people get back to their own careers. And you could say there's some people think of him as a murderer, which I don't think so. But the families are suing him and these lawsuits are ongoing. So there's some legal basis to this, but time passes, people forget. People go back to liking who they like.
That's easy. Respect to to the dead, but that's easier for fans to forget because it's not like he was direct in the passing of those people.
Well, depending on who you talk to, they were trying to get him to stop, and he was ignoring people, and in the process,
they were trying.
No. Some of the staff members at the venue were literally trying to get him to stop performing because it was a disaster in the audience.
Oh, but did he know what the disaster was?
Not until later. No, listen. I'm not saying it was his fault.
Right. Yeah. So I mean,
and now people are going over the board. Like when things happen, you see performers constantly stop shows and try to break things up and tell security to handle things and stuff like that because no one wants to be in that same position. But my point is, people get over stuff. For example, Kanye has a new album coming out. Big anticipation over this album. He said egregious things, not just about Jewish people, but about black people. Said George Floyd was a drug addict. Slavery was a choice. People like Boosie are still very much angry over these statements that Kanye made. But some time passed. He put out a little half-ass apology in Hebrew. And, now everyone's looking forward to his album. Yes, and he wore a Ku Klux Klan hood that was black. So he's still, doing stuff that's upsetting people. But people want to hear his music. And I'm sure this album will do pretty well like his previous albums. Time passes. People forget. People don't give a shit. People get outraged about whatever else is new. So I don't know. I personally think Jonathan Majors will make a comeback. That's my guess.
I think so, but people are going to have courage, and I don't know if there's a lot of cowards out there.
Well, yeah, especially when you're talking about $100 million budgets.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, heaven forbid a Marvel film gets boycotted because Jonathan Majors is in it. They don't want to take that chance.
Right, yeah.
They don't want to take that chance. So we'll just recast him. Yeah. Well, Alec Baldwin just got charged with involuntary manslaughter for that shooting. You heard about this?
No, I didn't hear that.
Well, remember he killed somebody on accident.
Oh, yeah, I've heard
on the set of Rust.
Yeah.
And they had dropped charges, but now they're actually bringing the charges back up again. And he's being charged with involuntary manslaughter over the death of that woman on set.
I didn't hear. I didn't know.
Well, you yourself, you've done a lot of films with guns. How serious is firearm safety on sets?
It should be very serious. But what happens is nowadays you to do the same film you're doing the same film that 10 years ago that you would have done like for $5 million, and now it's $3 million and half the time. So things are rushed. I mean, when you're shooting a movie at, what was it, Albuquerque? Where was it? I forget. It's probably one of those places with.
Oh, you mean where Rust was being shot? Hold on. New Mexico.
New Mexico.
The movie shot in New Mexico.
Well,
Albuquerque, yeah, you're right.
Albuquerque or,
Bonanza City.
Okay, yeah. Well, so yeah, what happens is I've shot several films there too, because there's a tax credit. There's you make your money go longer that way because it's way too expensive to shoot in LA. So what happens is you hire local people from that area to keep the budget down. And usually the main star is the one that's kind of gobbling up the majority of the budget.
Well, he's also the producer of that film.
Right, yeah. Producer and,
And
so,
star, yeah.
Yeah, so what usually happens is you get a crew that's not as tried and true as you're used to. And because it's a thing that there's a benefit to those people who live there because you're hiring local people and you're putting them, giving them that opportunity. And a lot of times they're spent, and you've got people who, I don't know, might cut corners, which is what I believe happened in this situation. Because usually when you think about a normal Hollywood movie, there are a lot of checks and balances that happen there that weren't on this movie. So that's one of the things here, because there's a lot of things that I go, wow, that shouldn't have been the case. Yeah, and I know that you got to be even more careful, especially with the firearm situation, because that's a safety issue. You might be skimping on some of the other things, but you can't skimp on that.
Have you ever had a gun go off, or any sort of gun you have on set?
Well, there's been some mistakes that have happened.
Okay, well, what movie?
Well, I remember famously, like, I don't want to stick this actor out, but in one of my earlier movies, I ain't gonna mention it, somebody was supposed to hold a gun to my head that had a blank in it.
Okay.
And is, threatening me. And then they're supposed to go like this and shoot it off. And the director was like, can you trust you? He's not going to shoot while it's pointed at you. He's going to go like this and shoot it off. I said, no, absolutely not. I fought with it. And I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm going to let him hold a blank. That can kill me if it goes off here.
A blank can kill you?
A blank can kill you from here.
Okay.
Right? So he had to have the gun empty, and he's going to go like this, and then we
cut
a whole cut, and I'm not in the frame, and shoots it off. Let me tell you what happened. While this actor had the gun to my head like this, acting, and he's supposed to be irate, he goes, he's yelling at me, and he goes, click.
Oh.
He did that with the empty gun. Well,
on accident.
Yeah, because he was hyped up and he clicked it. I looked at him and I said, I'll be back. And I had to just walk away. I just walked till I calmed down because I'm going.
He almost killed you.
Yeah, you know what could have happened? So I do not play with that. When you're doing your art, there's the director himself. They're in the moment. They're not thinking about that. But you know what? Even on that, and this was here, there should have been no way that a person in charge should have ever let a live gun be that close to my head.
Yeah, I actually looked it up. It says, although blank cartridges do not contain a bullet, precautions are still required because fatalities and severe injuries have resulted on occasions when blank cartridges have been fired at very close ranges.
I forget the actor's name.
That's what you're talking about, a very close range blank.
An actor mistakenly killed himself, joking around, had a blank and did this to himself. Like figuring it was just going to be noise. But fire shoots out of that thing. Killed him. You know? So,
John Eric Hexum.
Yeah. Yeah. And famously, Brandon Lee was killed.
Yeah.
Where a gun that was supposed to have nothing in it.
Yeah, Bruce Lee's son.
Yeah. So some shrapnel, something was in it and penetrated. You can't play with that. Yeah, it's just, yeah, you got to have the fail safes there. I mean, Alec Baldwin is a performer. He could probably, speculating, he's more than likely used to being free to perform without having to worry about these other things. Because I'm sure, there's times where it's been checked. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what that scenario was, but I feel like there were corners cut from the things I heard. And that's due to having less money, less tried and true people on set, and that's just one of those things that you just can't skimp on. And unfortunately, the young lady, paid that price and passed. But as a result, man, in Hollywood they don't play anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sad situation, man. Sad.
Yeah.
I had Aries Spears on my show recently.
Mm-hmm.
And Aries, who's primarily a comedian, has also done some acting roles. He was in Jerry Maguire.
Oh, yeah.
And also he was like one of the leads on Mad TV for a long time. And he feels that a lot of rapper actors have no range. He named 50 Cent, Ice Cube, Common, and DMX.
And you talk about rappers that could really act, and people say DMX, Ice Cube.
Yeah, Ice Cube was the other one.
Yeah, I go, how hard do you think it is for street niggas to play street niggas? If Ice Cube did a movie where he played a doctor and then did a movie where he played a lawyer, what would be different? Now, my man, comedian Tommy Chung had a great joke where he goes, Ice Cube is a guy to colleges. All right, Miss Johnson, I looked at your chart. Now get up on that thigh. And it was so funny because I'm going, that's what it would be. Somebody else said, and the one movie, and I forget the name of the movie, but it was a movie with Sylvester Stallone where he and Arnold Schwarzenegger were in glass prisons. Mm-hmm. And 50 Cent played a computer hack. And somebody goes, man, what about 50 Cent? He played a computer hacker. That's different. I said, you put glasses on a nigga and now he's a computer hacker. Because he's nerdy with glasses? Yeah. Get the fuck out of here. And listen, if you got the range and you got the ability, hats off to you.
Mm-hmm. Would you agree or disagree?
Acting range, yeah, I gotta agree with him, even though could ruffle some feathers there. But I mean, a lot of times they're hired to play basically their themselves. Persona. Yeah.
And you've acted with DMX.
Mm-hmm.
Have you done work with 50, Ice Cube, or Common?
No.
Okay, but DMX you have. And I mean, you can't really argue.
I'm sorry, but Ice Cube, I don't know if I'd put in that same category.
Well, because he could do comedy.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like these days, well, okay, he does comedy and he does action.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's a straight man. He's a great straight man. He's done some really. He's a
That's actually a
he's
good point.
very
Yeah,
comedic.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
actually he's more known for his comedy roles.
Yeah.
Yeah, Boys in the Hood was cool,
And
but he's
Boys in
more
the
known
Hood-
for Friday.
Yeah, but he turned in hella dramatic performances.
Has he?
Yeah, Boys in the
You're right. Yeah, but Boys in
Boys
the
in the
Hood.
Hood.
You're right. No, I was thinking about
Higher
after that.
Learning. Is it
Higher
wasn't
Learning.
he-
Yep. No, you're right.
Yeah,
Higher
yeah.
Learning.
So I would damn sure take him off that list.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah.
50 does some acting, but he's really more behind the scenes.
I really haven't seen him in many things.
Yeah. Get Rich or Die Trying. He's in Power.
Yeah, I've never seen. I think
he
I
played a
don't-
computer hacker, but Aries things like you put glasses on anyone, they'll look nerdy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm limited. I haven't really seen him. Have I seen? I think I saw Get Rich or Die Trying, and I think that's the only
Well,
thing I saw.
I think what Aries is really saying, though, and I think this does kind of pertain to Ice Cube as well, is that when he says range, it's an actor that you forget is the real person.
Yeah, you want to
anymore.
forget that he's that.
Like a Daniel Day-Lewis will transform into a totally different human being.
Mhm.
You forget that Lincoln is actually Daniel Day-Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain actors that, like Leonardo DiCaprio,
Yeah.
eating Gilbert Grape, and,
Yeah,
and so
you
forth.
happen to be mentioning
The all-time greats.
no. You happen to be mentioning actors who are very eclectic and very have unusual range. But I'm telling you, the majority of actors play themselves.
Is that you in your case?
No, definitely not me in my case.
No, you don't feel you play Michael Jai White in
No.
most movies.
I very, very rarely play Michael Jai White. I feel like myself.
Oh, what's the role?
The person that I am right now, you don't usually see in movies.
Okay, well, I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I
like
don't
what?
know.
More now, but I'm not.
Outlaw
Yeah.
Johnny Black, my
Do
friend
I-
Michael, pretty much,
I seem just like that character.
more or less.
Okay, that's I,
More or
I
less.
agree to
I
disagree.
don't feel it's a
I don't
huge
believe I'm-
stretch. You're playing a tough guy in a Western movie.
Do I seem like a tough guy right now?
You don't seem like a
no,
soft
so-
guy right now.
Yeah, well, am I playing that? So the thing is, I'm a very eclectic person. Like,
Okay.
if I've played. I don't want to be talking about my range or whatever.
What's the most out of character role you have ever played in a movie?
You should look at my acting reel. Like,
I'm asking you, what's the most? I've seen most of your movies.
Well,
What's the most out of character, far from who you are role that you've ever played?
well, I played. Man, there's a lot of really
Name it.
eclectic.
Name it.
Well, I forgot the character I
The
played.
most out of character Michael Jai White role.
Okay, yeah. 2 Days in the Valley. I don't know if you ever saw that.
I didn't see that.
Uh,
Who do you play in 2 Days in the Valley?
I play a very flamboyantly gay character in that movie.
Okay, well there you go. Okay,
Okay.
you prove you've actually dispelled my point.
Right, yeah, but there's Why Did I Get Married is not the same dude as Spawn. It's not the same dude as Tyson. I'm not even me in that. I do different roles.
I feel you.
You know
okay,
what I
I'll
mean?
give you
And
that. All right, fair enough.
Then
But you do play a
Black
boxer.
Dynamite
You
is
do
not-
play Tyson. You are playing a boxer, and you were a martial artist before you played him. So that's not.
that's
a huge,
exactly the same. Like, what are
It's
you,
not
what are
a
you talking
huge
about?
stretch. Not a huge stretch.
Not a huge stretch. I'm playing a different human being that everybody
You're
fucking
always playing
knows.
in every role. You're playing a different human being.
Yeah, but
Unless
look,
you're doing a
if-
biopic,
do I
it's
seem like
always a
Mike
different-
Tyson sitting here?
No, but
was I believable as Mike Tyson?
yes. Even
Okay.
Mike Tyson said so.
Yeah, well, that's not just because I'm a fighter. That I happen to have a physicality that I can't change. But you know what role that I almost I was it's like it's a funny story, but do you know I was first approached and was the leading candidate for Basquiat.
Wow. You look nothing like Basquiat
Yes, I actually. Well, here's what's
at all.
No, this is no bullshit.
And I just interviewed his sisters recently.
In '93,
Okay.
right? I had an audition for a movie called "Build a Fort, Set It on Fire." It was the Jean-Michel Basquiat story.
Okay.
I got the sides. I'm going, what the hell am I gonna do with this? At the time I was like, I wasn't known. I was living in the gym. I was like working out all the time. I was like 235 ripped, you know. I go to this audition and I'm like, well, I guess I gotta basically I'll be auditioning for something else. I'll audition as a character, but this is ridiculous. I can't play Basquiat. He was a heroin addict. Might have weighed 110 pounds, right?
Yeah.
So I audition, I get called back. Then I get called back again. And of course, the callback, there's like me and a bunch of Lenny Kravitzes. like I look like, what am I, the bodyguard of the, like this, it doesn't make any sense. And at the time, Joanna Ray was one of the biggest casting directors in Hollywood. And I kept going back, kept getting called back. And I'm thinking, and I would try to dress like in raggedy clothes. I try to hide my size in a way. And I'm going, why the hell do they keep calling me back? And then one of my last auditions, she gives me a videotape of Jean-Michel Basquiat that a friend of his shot and gave her. It was a birthday party. And so she says, look, you're doing such an amazing job. I want you to look at this and study it. Yeah, I took it home and I was like, oh yeah, the guy's like this big. This feels like a prank. You know what I mean? I come back, my agents, manager, they love you. You're the lead. You're like, what? Now I'm reading with other people. And I'm reading as Basquiat. And these famous people I'm reading against. And I'm like, this is the most fucked up prank in the world. Do they not see what I look like? Yeah, I did have I felt like a good grasp on the internal of what this character was. But reality is, I'm a fucking bison. I can't play a heroine. Then eventually it gets shelved, right? It gets put on hold. You know, propaganda film says we gotta put this, you know, in the back burner. Then I got cast as Tyson. I get cast as Tyson, and then a year later, after the Tyson comes out, Joanna Ray calls my people up and say, hey, we're on the move again. We're just calling it Basquiat. And I'm like, and like, how do you not know? I just did Tyson. Like, now the secret's out. I'm a large person. Like, and they're calling me. I'm like, I just refuse to respond to anything. And they, you know, they eventually cast the thing. And then years later, I'm doing, what do you call it? Kill Bill. And Joanna Ray's casting it. And I asked Joanna, I said, you gotta tell me, years ago, when you guys were having me play Basquiat, what were you thinking? Did you not notice the size I was? And she said, we always figured you just lose weight. And I was like, oh, and I realized they didn't have a hold on reality. They didn't realize, like, because the character's walking around shirtless and, you know, in his underwear. And physically, I could probably get to maybe 195, but I'd be ripped to shreds. I'd look like a fitness model. And I'm supposed to be on heroin. So they just didn't understand. She was saying, well, you know, they talk about, you know, De Niro dropping weight.
For Raging Bull.
But
Christian Bale, he lost 60 pounds for the
But they
Machinist.
didn't start out as 235 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
And if you lose muscle, I mean, you lose size, the muscle ain't going no damn where.
Yeah.
You're going to be ripped. I'm going to look like I'm getting ready to step on a contest stage. But they had no idea of that. I did. I'm like, I'm not making a fool of myself. Just like when they tried to, you know, they approached me about playing the Marvin Gaye story after
Silly.
Spawn. I'm like,
Silly.
I'm not going to embarrass myself and be some buff ass Marvin Gaye.
Yeah,
You know,
and actually,
not trying to limit myself, but
Yeah.
reality is reality. You know?
Yeah, and I actually just looked it up. I remember seeing this movie. I was in Israel at the time, and I had some time to kill before my flight. So I actually went to the theater and watched Basquiat. Jeffrey Wright played Basquiat.
Yeah.
One of his very early roles. I didn't realize he was even acting back then.
Yeah, yeah.
And he did a good job.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Great actor.
Yeah, but could you imagine me embarrassing myself? Like, yeah. I mean, I like I said, I felt like I understood the character, but there's reality and physicality that, I mean, not it was a different thing by then. I'm not sure it was exactly the same script, but there that goes. I don't know how I got off on this tangent.
Let's talk about fighting for a second.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Well, Francis Ngannou is supposed to fight Anthony Joshua. Now, he's actually coming from the MMA side into the boxing ring. How do you think this is going to end up?
Oh, I hate to say it out loud, man, because Francis is my man.
But
no, man.
You think Tyson Fury is going to tap him up, huh?
Yeah. It's Tyson Fury has footwork. He's a tall man with footwork. That's hard to beat. Yeah. You think I'm going to say anything other than Francis is going to win? I ain't stupid. I was wrong as hell, but proud to be wrong that last time. Francis is a much deeper, smarter person, and he's just a talented individual. He and Dewey, what a great team. So I'm going for Francis in this situation.
Okay, and he says that Tyson Fury owes him a rematch after this fight. Do you think that's actually going to happen?
I would love for that to happen.
Do you think it'll happen? Based on the politics of boxing?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do.
Be a big draw?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, a lot of money in it.
I would think Tyson would want to rectify himself and say, yeah, well, that was a fluke. And then you're knocking me down as a fluke. And coming that close to like dethroning me on your first ever professional boxing match. That's like I said, that's never happened. There's nothing. I can't even think of an equivalent to that.
Gervonta Davis converted to Islam. His new name is Abdul Wahid.
I'm glad you told me, because somebody would have been talking about Abdul Wahid, and I'd have been like, who?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone is kind of reminded about the whole Muhammad Ali thing.
True.
And listen, man, I'm really all for if someone wants to pursue their religion and change their name and everything else like that. I mean, a lot of people didn't want to call Muhammad Ali anything but Cassius Clay for years.
True.
And now people don't even remember who Cassius Clay is.
Right.
Seriously, if you say Cassius Clay to a 20-year-old, they're like, who's that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, Gervonta, I mean, he's been through some personal turmoil and stuff like that. So maybe religion is really what he's using to kind of center himself, and anything else like that. I'm happy for him.
I think religion and pride of who you really are. Your name is not your name. Mm-hmm. When it comes down to it, somebody gave you that. Yeah. So, I respect that to the fullest.
And your real name is Michael Jai White.
Yeah.
You never changed it for Hollywood.
No. It's my real name is something else, probably. but I have another name called it's Odupan, and that's my Ghana, my name from Ghana.
Oh, okay. But I'm saying the name that your mother and father gave you when you were born is Michael Jai White.
Right.
Did you ever think about changing it early on?
Because
most actors, I think, have different names. Most, not all.
I
most.
Think I think I had thought about it at first because there was another Michael White, I didn't give much thought to it.
Well,
yeah,
you've owned it. Well, let's talk about UFC for a second. Conor McGregor is supposed to come back against Michael Chandler.
Interesting.
What do you think of that?
That's going to be a hell of a. That's going to be some some drama, I feel. It could go either way. I have to give the edge to Michael Chandler.
Really?
I
Over Conor
actually do.
McGregor. Okay, why is that?
Normally I wouldn't because there's a little bit of a size difference, and when I say bone density, and I think Conor has the advantage in that scenario. But Michael Chandler he's got a hell of a chin. And the thing with Conor, unless he develops another weapon equivalent to his left hand, like Chuck Liddell, people are going to catch on. Well, see, if you look at a bevy of McGregor knockouts or wins, it's going to be left hand, and a left hand. So you basically have to watch out for his left hand, and if Chandler avoids that, then I think he takes advantage.
Okay, so you got your money on Chandler.
If he's smart enough to watch out for the left hand, because I mean, it's different if you see, Conor McGregor submits somebody here, ends, defeat someone with a kick. You just never saw that. So, yeah, I mean, maybe I'm kind of telling Chandler, watch out for the left hand, dude.
Are you familiar with some of the stuff that Sean Strickland has been saying?
No, I actually tried to watch his most recent fight, and I don't know what happened. So don't tell me.
Okay.
I tried to watch it last night, but fell asleep. So I didn't get up to his fight.
Okay.
So I've been editing like crazy. So I've been tired. So I started to watch the UFC. I taped it, and I haven't gotten to his fight.
Okay. Well, before the fight, and in previous times, he had a lot of comments that got people upset. He said on Twitter, if I had a gay son, I think I would have failed as a man. He said, a lot of stuff about trans people. He's criticized Bud Light with the whole Dylan Mulvaney thing, the whole trans campaign, and so forth. At one point, he even got kicked off of Twitter for some of his comments. And he's standing behind what he's saying.
I love it.
Do you feel in today's, the temperature of today's society, that you could say something like him? If I had a gay son, I think I'd be a failure as a man. I don't personally agree with that, because
I don't agree with it, but I applaud it. I'm so fucking tired of people being outraged by words.
Yeah.
If you want to call a guy silly, call him silly. Disagree with him. Okay, you have a right to disagree. But let's not fucking I applaud somebody who is just authentically themselves. And so I don't give a shit if this guy says stuff that I completely disagree with. I want to hear it. I'm tired of this shit. I'm almost at this point of, Klan, speak out, Klan, please.
Well, the Klan is allowed to speak out.
Yeah, so but it's like it's gone too far. People are afraid of fucking words. And then it's like, toughen up, man. Like, people get a chance. I mean, just like with comedy. Comedians can't speak. If anybody is supposed to be able to say controversial shit, it should be them.
Yeah.
So it's just, I applaud this guy. I applaud Strickland. I'm glad he's got, the balls enough to be who he is.
Yeah, I mean, he talked about the whole trans thing where he was like, people are getting on me because I'm saying there's not two genders. You know what I mean? That that I'm not saying that a trans woman is really a man, and so forth. And look, for example, Boosie, who's, a regular on my show, he talked about how he was seeing The Color Purple with his, I believe, 9-year-old daughter. And during the lesbian scene, he walked out of the movie. Now, you could say the movie's PG-13, your daughter's a little too young to have been in that movie to begin with. But if he took her, it is what it is. You have daughters yourself. How many daughters do you have?
3.
3 daughters. Did you have to wrestle with when they were younger, watching a movie or TV show with them, and there was gay imagery on the screen, and them asking, "Oh, Daddy, what is that?"
No, one of my daughters is gay.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. How old is she?
22.
Okay. When did you find out she was gay?
We figured that out kind of. We were like hedging bets, me and my wife.
Okay.
Like, no, that thing, when it was going either way. But, it's never been.
Hedging bets. That's funny.
It's never been a slight issue. You are who the fuck you are.
Okay. So at what point did you and Gillian say, okay, we're totally sure our daughter is gay? How old was she at the time?
There wasn't a point. It didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
It just didn't fucking matter.
Got it.
You know what I mean? It's just, it's not an issue. And it shouldn't be to me. It's like you are who you are.
So she's brought her girlfriends home for you guys to meet and stuff like that?
Yeah, she lives with her girlfriend.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's all good.
Why would it not be?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's like
I'm all for that, man.
That whole, is a
Boosie
choice.
has a gay daughter too. His oldest child is actually gay.
Okay, yeah.
So what?
Yeah, it's like saying, oh, his oldest daughter is a Scorpio.
Same thing.
It's no different. So, like, I don't get it. But that's even when I was a kid, it didn't matter to me at all. I remember one time when I was doing Spawn, right? When it really occurred to me that it doesn't fucking matter, is I didn't know how to dress, and I had this premiere coming up, and some guy who was like a brother or a cousin to me, was a brother named Sammy McKinney, who was rest in peace, he was very close to me. Sammy is as gay as they come, right? Amazing songwriter, wrote songs for Patti LaBelle and so many other people. But Sammy was like my brother. And, he was going to help me, get something fashionable or whatever. And here we are, me and Sammy on Melrose, walking around the stores. And it occurred to me, I'm going, well, a lot of people are going to probably think I'm gay. Then I was like, so? Who gives a fuck? This is my brother. And I realized, hey, that was a silly notion to think about. Worrying about, who gives? I gave no shit. And so it kind of brought it home that it really doesn't matter. And I've always had friends who were gay. And it's like they were less boring than a lot of my straight friends.
Yeah, I think if anyone seriously has a problem with the gay community, they are wrestling with their own sexual identity themselves.
It's what people grew up to believe. Anything that's different from them, they're taught to just, and it's almost instinctual. I mean, the time when we were in villages and, we were, primary, we had to notice what was different about these people walking toward our village, because are they here to kill us or not? So we've ousted those who are different. So that's in our DNA. But but now it's like, these camps that you have. You don't realize, you're fucking stupid if you don't think that there's somebody from another walk of life or another sect that doesn't have something to contribute to you. Then you're just dumb.
Yeah.
Because you're shutting yourself off from knowledge. There's, you can learn from everybody. And I think that's the whole point, really, is not ousting these people that you don't understand. Try to understand them. I told you about that story with me when I was talking to these guys who were, white supremacists, and I had this conversation with them. That was very informative. But you can provide a link to that old story. But I'm always, this is my life. This is my world. I'm going to extract all the knowledge I can.
Well, look, like I went on Twitter recently and I said this, and it caused kind of a debate over this. And what I said was, if you look at dozens of my interviews, I will tell my male guests, especially ones that are, starting to get older, that they look great if they're staying in shape and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you're looking great. Like, yeah. I'll say that on camera.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problems telling another man they look great. I'm not telling them you look handsome or I'm attracted to you, but it's like, I work out myself.
Yeah.
Like, I take care of my weight. If I see someone in their 50s or their 60s and they're in shape, like, you look great. But men are so afraid of saying that because it somehow implies some sort of gay stigma.
Insecure men are scared.
Women constantly tell other women they look great.
Mm-hmm. Whether they
totally accept it, whether they believe it or not, right?
Yeah.
But men are so scared to tell another man that, hey, man, you're looking good. Like, you go to the gym, you're working out. I have no problem saying that. But in the comment, oh, Vlad, you gay. Okay, just tell him you're gay. You know what I mean? Gay. I'm not gay.
Yeah.
But, listen, I understand that eating right and working out is a hard process for any human to do. So I want to recognize that someone who's sitting down with me has been taking care of themselves. So I'm going to tell them, at your age, you're looking great. Now, if you're fat and sloppy, I'm not going to tell them that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like, for example, when Phase on Love was on my show, we had a conversation based on your phone call to me of like, listen, Michael just called me and said that you couldn't get up the street and so forth. You need to start losing weight. He's like, yeah, you're right. I took my daughter to Disneyland. I had to be on one of those little motorized carts the whole time. I'm going to do, okay, I'm not going to tell you, gas your head up and say, you're looking great. You need to lose some weight. You could do it. You're still young enough to do it.
Stands, man. I'll train with him. I'll help
Exactly.
you. Yeah.
Exactly. I just feel like men need to be more honest with their feelings sometimes and with the way they speak and not be so scared to be judged as gay or whatever else by complimenting. You know what I mean? Like, I'm confident who I am. I'm a straight man. I love women. I always have. But, I could see, hey, that's a beautiful horse. Doesn't mean I want to have sex with a horse.
Yeah.
I could just say, like that horse is muscular and well built. Like, like whoever the trainer is, congrats. This is going to go all types of weird directions.
Okay.
USA Boxing, they just announced they're going to allow trans women to compete against female boxers. I disagree with this.
I disagree as well.
Because you could take all the hormones you want, you still have the muscle mass and the bone density, how you like to say, of a man.
True.
And you essentially have a man beating up a woman.
Yeah, I agree. I think, why don't they fight each other?
Ooh, a trans league. That makes sense. Then it's totally equal.
Yeah.
No one can say nothing.
Right.
No one's going to be mad at a trans woman fighting another trans woman or a trans man fighting another trans man.
Right. Well, yeah, this guy I get confused.
Yeah. Well, a trans woman is a man who is transitioning to a woman, and a trans man is a woman that's transitioning into a man. People have gotten on me for this, saying that I'm misgendering people, and it's not purposeful. I'm not doing this on purpose. Although I have gay friends, I don't have any trans friends, so I'm not as familiar with that community.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know any. I don't have any. I don't think I have any. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Nothing against the trans community. It's just a very small.
I would think that was a small
fraction of the population. I just haven't. I've interviewed trans people before, but I don't have. I wouldn't say that I've continued, friendships with them for whatever reason.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's kind of crazy because I think you're probably going to have a trans woman champion at one point if they continue down this road. And then that's going to really
I just wonder people. How many, I don't know. I don't think there's many in the community anyway. And then you're going to delineate it. Then you're going to chop it down to those who are then wrestlers or boxers. And you know what I mean? I think you're going to end up with like 5 people.
Right.
Yeah, and that one of them is the world champion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of fighting, one of my members, Cashflow Ace One, actually had an interesting question for you. Now, how many fighting styles have you studied yourself?
Well, there's martial arts styles. Everything's not fighting.
Okay.
Even though, like, say, wushu and Tai Chi, things like that have fighting kind of at their base, they're not a combative style.
Okay, so how many combative fighting styles have you actually studied yourself?
About 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the best martial arts fighting style for a street fight?
MMA is now considered a style,
Okay.
I would imagine. So it would be MMA because it's mixed martial arts. So that, but if it's one pure style,
I see what you're saying. So MMA can't count because it's incorporating a bunch of different styles into one.
yes, yes. I would say if somebody had a street fight,
Street fight.
I would still give the edge to the boxer.
Okay.
Above everything else, I'd give the edge to the boxer first. Then it would be the wrestler.
Right.
It would not be the martial artist on a street
Right.
fight.
Yeah.
It would not be the karate guy in a street fight. I would say that would come. I would go to Thai boxing right after that.
Because you're kicking and punching.
Well, you're hitting hard. Because these things, like when you're boxing, you are fighting. You know, you are striking in the face. You're getting struck in the face fully. In karate, you are not getting hit fully. It's kind of a business. But boxing, no, you learn how to fight. Wrestling, you learn how to fight.
Yeah, most street fights end up on the ground too. So
Not
most.
I
but
disagree
some,
with that.
Some end up on the
I
ground.
absolutely disagree with that.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it starts on the feet.
It starts on your feet.
Somebody ends up on the ground probably, but somebody who knows how to box gets in an altercation, they're probably not going to the ground.
True.
Yeah, because unless you are another professional boxer, you don't know how to block that shit. You just don't. And you're dealing with fractions of seconds. So, so boxer,
Number 1.
wrestler,
Number 2.
Thai boxing.
Number 3.
Yeah, because a leg kick or whatever, somebody knows how to throw a leg kick, you don't know how to block that shit neither.
Yeah, I'll tell you my worst violent experience when I had the home invasion situation. I could tell you with 100% certainty that wrestling in high school saved my life. Because it turned into a wrestling match at one point.
Right.
And the fact
Because you
that
couldn't box.
Well, yeah. I was,
Right.
yeah, you're right. I can't box either.
Right, yeah.
You're right. But it turned into a wrestling match, and my wrestling instincts of, catching someone when you're sort of on the floor with them,
Yeah.
and the way you move around and swing your legs around. It's funny because I only wrestled for 1 year, my freshman year in high school, then I quit. But at the time that I needed it the most, I had it, and the guy that attacked me did not.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, things went a certain type of way because of that.
Yeah.
And to this day, I'm thinking that had I not wrestled, I might be dead.
Yeah, and the thing is, not to get too deep into it's a mindset shit. Wrestling, you are fighting.
Yeah.
It ain't some damn, you drop you off at a karate school and you got to do, no, you're fighting.
Yeah, there's no rest. There's no, it's constant violence.
Yeah,
on a certain
nobody's
level.
stopping you. You keep going.
You keep going.
You know what I
yeah.
mean? So yeah,
Until you get pinned. Yeah.
Yeah, so that mindset of being in the fight.
Yeah.
That's a thing that unfortunately with karate and normal karate studios, they don't have that. Because you're not fighting. You're bowing. You're being
getting points.
Yeah. So it's a spiritual thing. There's a thing where what you do develop over time in karate is a fortitude, a mental. It takes a while to where and if you use that discipline with honing your fighting skills, then you're very formidable. But that takes a while. And then when you're fighting an average person, they have no idea what you're doing. It's unfair.
Well, Since our last interview, I interviewed Teddy Atlas.
Mm.
And I asked him about the rumor that Cus D'Amato was gay.
Mm.
And I pointed out that Cus was never married, had no children. The woman who worked with him, his partner, was not a romantic partner.
Right.
She just helped him run the school.
Mm.
And Teddy said, that's just not true. He said he talked to Cus, and he said Cus told him the reason why he never got married was because he was married to the sport of boxing.
Mm-hmm.
He felt that he needed to devote his entire life to creating world champion boxers, and had he had a wife or kids, it would have taken him away from that, or it would have been unfair to his kids.
Mm-hmm.
So he completely dedicated his whole life to creating world champions, which he did on 2 separate occasions, right?
Right. Yeah. Jose Torres
and Mike Tyson.
There was always rumors that Cus was possibly gay or something like that. Is that any truth in that?
I don't know, none when it comes to as far as I know, none. But
okay.
I can't control what people say, but none. He was a man's man. He grew up in Bruckner Boulevard in Everlast, near Everlast factory. Me and him drove down there to get equipment all the time. He would drive me nuts. Before we could get to the warehouse to buy the equipment, he'd go by his old house. Teddy, that's where I grew up. Across the, I know, cuz I've been here 452 times. I know, cuz across the street, Murderers Incorporated. They were there. Yep, that's right. That was his neighborhood. All right, cuz I know nothing about any of that stuff. All I know is he was a great trainer. He was a great mentor. And like everybody, he was human. He was human. And at the end, I think he got tested in those human ways, where he wanted to have one more champion. And I feel if he wasn't at that point in his life where he was getting older and his whole life was boxing. He once told me, to your point, he said, Teddy, you know why I never got married? I never got married because it would have been unfair. So what do you mean? Because I never got married because it would have been unfair to a woman and to a child to marry them because my marriage was this, boxing.
So Camille Ewald was not his wife?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Okay.
Hold on. Let me look this up because now. Yeah, never married.
Okay.
D'Amato and Ewald were never married.
Okay.
Although their close friendship lasted for decades.
Hmm.
Yeah, she was responsible for cooking and household chores.
Oh.
According to this article.
Mm-hmm.
Wikipedia.
All right.
Yeah, so no, he was never married.
All right.
Do you believe that?
Believe what?
That he wasn't gay.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think I've heard the rumor before, but of course I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting?
Because the rumor culminated with he passed from pneumonia, and his partner Jim Jacobs passed from pneumonia as well.
Oh, meaning he had AIDS?
Pneumonia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
That's where I believe I've heard the rumor, because they go, usually people who die of AIDS die of pneumonia
and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I of course I had no idea. Never really.
Yeah, but you played Mike Tyson, and you went up there. Did you go up to like the camp and everything else like that? And you spoke to people around him and so forth. Did you meet with Teddy Atlas?
What's that?
Did you ever meet with Teddy Atlas?
Oh yeah, I met with Teddy Atlas before doing the movie.
Aha.
I sat down across the table with him. I sat down with Kevin Rooney. Mm-hmm. I put myself on the porch of that Catskill home and met with people who lived with him, because I was just basically like a detective. I was like, hey, I got to play this role anyway, so I'm using my own dime to go there and talking to Kevin Rooney and getting his side. I wanted to know Mike Tyson's side instead of just going off of a script that some things I didn't believe, and I was like, I don't believe this, because it was something in the script that said that when Teddy Atlas pulled a gun on him, okay, and pointed it at his head, but then shot off like this. Wow, what a segue, right? You know, see how these things turn around.
Mm-hmm.
But that Mike Tyson cowered and cried. I read that in the script. I'm like, I don't believe that shit. Sat with Teddy Atlas, who admitted. I said, did Mike Tyson cry? Did he cower? He said, no. He just kind of looked at me defiantly. I said, oh, okay. But you see on the script, it says this. He said he kind of ran away and cowered. He said, no, he just kind of looked at me like, I said, okay, thank you. And that was changed in the script because I absolutely did not believe a cat like myself from Brooklyn around the same age would behave that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I asked him about that. And he didn't say that he cowered. And, you know, I brought up.
In that script, it totally had Mike Tyson bitching out. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. And I also, because me and you talked before that, you said that Mike Tyson went and got a crew to go back and kill Teddy Atlas.
I don't know. I ain't gonna say nothing to that. I ain't gonna. I've heard that.
Yeah,
Mike
that was a
Tyson
rumor.
did not cower.
Did not cower.
That
Right.
He
and
was
I asked him,
like, okay.
Yeah, I asked him whether that part was true. He goes, well, I don't know. He goes, but basically after the gun incident, Cuss basically said, hey, I got to choose one of you, and I'm going with Tyson. And what he also said was that he offered him 5% of Tyson's lifetime earnings to leave. And he turned it down, but, you know, he said in retrospect, that was just a make-believe number. You can't give someone 5% of their lifetime.
No,
earnings.
nobody can do that.
You know, I mean, it's just let me just get you out of here really quickly.
And we got a knock from one of the guys that, friend of mine, friend of Cuss's from the gym. And, you know, he said, can I talk to you? Cuss wants me to tell you something. And he gave me a deal. Offered me a deal, 5% of Tyson's earnings for the rest of his life, or whatever, the rest of his career, if I would leave. I'm leaving anyway. And, you know, I still had a little bit of growing to do, a little maturing to do. So I did the easy thing. I told him to shove it somewhere and to tell Cuss to shove it somewhere because all I felt was betrayed. I didn't feel nothing else. I didn't feel like I lost money. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I felt like I got betrayed. That's all I felt.
Yeah. You know what I mean? He could have been, they could have got him out to keep him alive because, you know, Tyson's got dogs back home.
I'm sure he does.
You know what I mean?
I'm sure you can tell by the people he hung out with later in life. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know what would happen if somebody did that to me. And, you know, and I got warriors that I grew up with.
Well, what he said, and this is actually true because I looked it up. He said that before Tyson's fight with Holyfield, the rematch, he predicted that Tyson would get disqualified. And it's actually on record. He didn't say exactly how, but he said that Tyson's going to do something to disqualify himself because he's not going to be able to win. And sure enough, the whole ear biting thing happened.
I said, Tyson's going to get disqualified. And they said, what did you just say? And Jack's a great writer, so that tweaked his interest. Jack said, Teddy, did you just say he's going to? I said, yeah. There's no other out. He goes, what do you mean there's no other out? I said, I know Tyson. And if I'm right about him, he got stood up against Douglas. He got stood up to against Holyfield the first time. He knows he's empty in the areas that he can't be empty to beat this man.
I've always said I felt there was a psychological component in that fight. Yeah. That if he didn't know Holyfield personally, he would have ran over him. That's my belief.
Right, but he knew him personally.
I believe he would have ran right over him if he didn't know him personally.
Well, yeah, and I interviewed Holyfield. We talked about that, and he said that early on, you know, he said that Tyson was great at what he did, and they sparred early on, but he said at no point was he ever scared of Mike Tyson. And coming into the fight, he was not scared of Mike Tyson.
Mike was one of the fighters who
charge at you all the time.
Yeah.
And what I had that a lot of people didn't have, I had good rhythm and good movement. So I can pop back and make you run into my shots. I had fast hands and like this and what I had too, I had this thing where that I wasn't afraid of nobody.
And that was kind of the first person I think that Tyson had to really meet. I mean, of course, after Buster Douglas, but I think Buster was probably still unsure in the beginning. I think Evander came in confidently, not scared.
They knew each other.
Yeah,
they knew each other.
Exactly.
So that's another component
Mm-hmm.
where, I believe Tyson had fought opponents that, didn't have the same kind of rapport that he had with Holyfield.
Mm-hmm. Well, I interviewed Sammy the Bull recently. And what was interesting, actually, is that there was a part of the story, part of the interview, where at one point he actually tried to extort Donald Trump, but he couldn't get to him. He said that Trump was surrounded by ex-CIA security guards, and they thought of trying to do something, but once they looked into it, they said, this guy's essentially untouchable. This is a waste of time. Years later, Steve Wynn was trying to block Trump from starting a casino in Vegas, a competing casino. So he sent a couple of his FBI, ex-FBI guys to go meet with Sammy the Bull. And they were like, listen, Steve Wynn would be very appreciative if you could tell us about Donald Trump's mob ties. And Sammy was like, well, there are none. We tried, nothing happened. You want me to lie? How much are you going to pay me to lie? Like, well, no, Steve Wynn's not going to want you to lie. Well, how much is he going to pay me? Is he going to give me a certain amount of money? Do I get a piece of casino? I'll lie if you want me to lie. But I'm telling you, he didn't do nothing. So what do you want me to do? Donald Trump reposted this part of the interview on his Instagram. Kind of crazy. You wake up in the morning, Donald Trump's posting your interviews, and you can hear my voice on it and everything else like that. So,
did he have the right to do that?
Nah, not really, but who cares? Whatever. I'm not going to copyright strike Donald Trump.
Get in line, man.
Exactly. But the reason I'm mentioning this, in my interview with Sammy the Bull, he talked about his dealings with Steven Seagal, who you have worked with before.
Yeah.
And at one point, John Gotti's brother was extorting Steven Seagal. You know about the story?
Mm-mm.
So the Gottis were extorting Seagal to kick back a part of his movie money. At one point, Steven wanted to take a break from doing movies. But Gotti's brother wasn't trying to hear that shit. He was like, no, you're going to get back and start doing these movies so we can make our money. So Steven Seagal ended up cooperating with the police. And according to Sammy the Bull, he was forced to take the stand against Gotti's brother, Steven Seagal.
Uh-huh.
And he said the whole time he cried on the stand and had a blanket, like Linus from Peanuts. And was basically holding his blanket and crying on the stand as he was testifying against Gotti's brother.
He testifies in court, Steven Seagal. And he didn't want to do it. He was scared to death. And I think when I said the story, he had some sort of, when you're young, you're a kid, you carry this little secure blanket, a little blankie or something. Like
Linus from the Peanuts?
Whatever, yeah. Well, he had that while he was on the stand on his lap.
So he was crying on the stand with his blanket.
He had his little blankie, and he forced to testify.
Well, I wish that was recorded.
It's probably in the transcript somewhere.
Yeah, well, you think they would put the blanket in the transcript?
Maybe. Maybe there's a court artist,
blanket. That's interesting. That I keep seeing things in movies, and I'm like, wow, that'd be a pretty fun movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it'd be funny.
One of my members, Freakin' Pedro, he actually brought this up to ask you. He said there's an old story about Jean-Claude Van Damme calling out Steven Seagal to a real fight after Steven was talking crap to him at Sylvester Stallone's house party. And they claimed that Steven backed down and left, and then Jean-Claude Van Damme went and found him at a bar somewhere and challenged him again, and Steven backed down again. Have you ever heard the story? And you worked with Van Damme as well.
Yeah, I worked with Van Damme, yeah.
Okay. Based on Van Damme and Seagal, based on your familiarity with both of them, can you see something like this happen?
Yes, absolutely.
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 Okay.
Yep. Van Damme's not afraid to spar people. He sparred me back in with when we were doing what's the name of the damn movie? Universal Soldier.
Yeah.
I was in the first one.
Yeah.
And we would work out together. And he had no real fear. Which was a trip because he's the lead and I was still competing at the time. But I never cheap shot anybody. We were working out really, we had fun working out together, but he would spar. And so he had timing and everything. And I know he wouldn't have any kind of fear. He knew how to fight. So yeah, but again, like with Steven, like, come on, here's a guy, like, he's never fought anybody. So like, it's a different thing. You're performing. And again, he doesn't have to know how to fight somebody. He just has to look like it. Again, like Steven Seagal's movies, I loved them when they first came out. On Deadly Ground, and that's what he's supposed to do. Like Clint Eastwood doesn't have to be an accurate shot. He just needs to look like it. So I don't hold that against Steven Seagal. He's not supposed to be able to fight people. Like I don't think Steven Seagal has ever had to block a punch toward his face. Who would have done it? Who would have been punching at him? What ring would he have ever been in? But the layman always holds up like you got to be a real fighter. No, you don't. No, you fucking don't. David Carradine doesn't have to fight nobody.
Right.
You know what I mean? But Steven Seagal is, I don't know why he puts that upon himself, that he has to try to legitimize himself as a fighter. It's fucking ridiculous.
Well, and I looked it up. There really is beef between Van Damme and Steven Seagal. They actually talk crap about each other. Both ways.
I mean, Steven Seagal's never going to spar Van. I think Steven Seagal really knows that there's never going to be. He can challenge anybody. There's never going to be a instance where they're going to face each other.
In an actual fight between Steven Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme, who would you give it to?
If Jean-Claude Van Damme, look, anybody. I'm sorry. In my belief, you would beat Steven Seagal. As far as in my estimation,
okay,
you would beat him just like you probably beat David Carradine. If you really fight, he's not. When would he have fought somebody?
Yeah.
When would be the instance where somebody's trying to kick the shit out of Steven Seagal in a match? And who would that be? If that person who tried to kick Seagal or tried to fight him or that sparred with Seagal, if that ever happened, we would know who that person would be.
Right.
There's no way that happens. So here's a guy who's never done that. He's never had to block a punch intended to knock his ass out. Van Damme has.
Right, because Van Damme was an actual martial artist before he went to Hollywood, right?
Yes. And I know he spars people. He sparred me.
How do you do?
He's he's not the same level. It wasn't the same. He's not supposed to be. Again, he's not supposed to be. I was still competing at that time. He was doing movies.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That's why I give him all the respect in the world, because he's sparring a guy who's fighting people. And the fact is, I'm not going to cheap shot him. We're sparring to sharpen each other. Okay? You're doing so, when you're sparring, like myself, I'm trying to, work on my reflexes and things like that. And you're controlling you're hitting, because it's not trying to kill each other. And plus, you're doing a movie.
Mm-hmm.
You're not trying to injure anybody. But the fact is, he has to be brave enough to know I'm fighting another fighter that I'm susceptible for him cheap shotting me. And the fact that he gave me that trust made me go, man, what a upstanding guy. And plus, he looked out for me on that set like you would not believe. Like, I was freezing. He insisted that, he would give me his coat between shots because I was in short sleeves. And he would insist I wear his coat. And, he had a long sleeve shirt underneath it. Mm-hmm. That's who he is. And I'm always going to fight for that guy. But he's a really nice person. He's always been that way. But yeah, I give respect to people who really fight.
There we have it. Michael Jai White, always a pleasure.
All right.
Until next time.
All right. Time to
Peace.
eat. Time to eat.